Hey guys, ignored the mess behind me. I just wanted to jump on here real quick because yet another intro that was either lost or forgotten. But in today's video, we are going to be prepping meatloaf in 3 different ways. So I hope you enjoy it and let's get on with it. So here is everything you are going to need for the 3 meatloaves. We're going to start over here. This is for the fajita meatloaf. You are going to need fajita seasoning. This is my homemade fajita seasoning. I should have made a video on it, but I didn't. So when I run low, I will make another video on my fajita seasoning. You are going to need an onion. You're going to need peppers. I'm using these as my binder because I need to get rid of them. So I'm going to get the food processor out and chop those up. For the classic meatloaf, you are going to need stovetop, that is your breading, an onion soup mix, onion, I know, lots of onion, but classic, I almost said lasagna, classic meatloaf has a lot of onion in it, ketchup. For the Salisbury meatloaf, you're going to need your binder. I'm going to use these off-brand Ritz, onion, Worcestershire sauce, why can't I brain today? And mustard, and this one also needs ketchup. Did I say ketchup for the classic? Ketchup for the classic as well. So the ketchup is going in two different ones. For the ingredients that are going to go into all of them: eggs, very important you have eggs, salt and pepper, garlic, onion. I know, more onion. Then this is the beef. I am going to be putting 1 pound and 1/3 of a pound in each. You're going to need your loaf pans, some spray to spray your loaf pans. Woo. And you're going to need to make sure you don't trip on your dog while you're doing this. So this is everything we're going to need. We're going to start with the classic, then the Salisbury, and end with the fajita. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is chop the onions for all of them. That way you get all the onion chopping done at one time. I ended up using, I believe, I ended up using 2 onions, I believe, instead of 3. I might have used 1 actually, because they were pretty large onions. I can't remember, but I kind of wish I would have used more, if I'm being honest, because a lot of them cooked down when I cooked the meatloaf. Okay, so one thing I actually forgot to mention in the beginning is that you need to mix your stovetop stuffing with some milk, probably between 1/3 to 1/2 a cup. You just want to get it moist. And it needs to set for 5 minutes. So before you do anything else, start your stuffing first. It will save you a lot of time. Okay, so the next step is, we're backtracking now, but add your onions to the bowl, then your beef. Once you get your beef in there, you're going to add an onion soup packet. I just did 1. If you are doing more than 1 pound, I know I did more than 1 pound, but I didn't necessarily. If you do like a 2-pound loaf, do 2. So 1 packet per pound. Then you are going to add the onion and garlic powder. Measure with your heart. I really like the onion and garlic flavor in mine, so I tend to put a lot in it. Salt and pepper, again, if you are someone who likes a lot of salt or whatever, measure with your heart. I don't want to say measure to taste, because it's raw meat and you don't want to taste raw meat. So then after that, once you get all of that put in, go ahead and add the stovetop stuffing. And then to that, you're going to add 3 eggs, because I did more than 1 pound, I went ahead and added the third egg. Normally I do 2 eggs per pound. And then ketchup, measure with your heart. Make sure you grease your loaf pan. Even if you're meal prepping this and putting it in the freezer, please make sure you grease your loaf pan. Whether you use a spray, whether you use butter, whether you use Crisco, please grease your loaf pan. All right, so then once you get everything in the bowl, you're gonna go ahead and mix with your hands. If you are someone that does not care to get your hands in there and dirty, get a wooden spoon, mix it until it's very well incorporated, and then put it into your loaf pan. All right, so we're gonna move on to the Salisbury meatloaf. First thing we're gonna do is go ahead and get the crackers into the food processor and get those shredded up, whatever you want to call it. You just want to make a breadcrumb mixture with them. I'm using a sleeve and a half of the crackers. Okay, for the Salisbury meatloaf, I am going to tell you what I did in this video, and then I'm going to tell you what you should probably do, because I kind of made this recipe up myself. There was no recipe I was following. I kind of looked at the ingredients to put in Salisbury steak, and that's what I went off of, and I kind of used the measurements from that as well. So here's what I would do, or what I did. I'm sorry. Here's what I did. First, you're going to add your meat, then your onion powder, garlic powder, and then I added salt and pepper. Ketchup was 2 tablespoons, Worcestershire sauce 2 tablespoons, and mustard is 1 tablespoon. I think I added more Worcestershire sauce because I just like the flavor of it. Then make sure you add your breadcrumbs or cracker crumbs, whatever you're using for your binding, and then your eggs. I ended up using 3 eggs in this one as well. Here's what I wish I would have done. For one, I wish I would have went ahead and did 1 onion per meatloaf, because like I said, a lot of the onions did cook down. The other thing I would do is I would add more breading, because after I cooked it, it was still falling apart, like it wasn't staying in loaf form, it's basically becoming mush. So I would add more breading. So I would probably do the 2.5 sleeves of crackers instead of the 1.5 sleeves. And then I would add a gravy packet directly into the meat itself. I would also double or triple the amount of ketchup, Worcestershire, and mustard I put in it, because the flavor just wasn't there. It was kind of a blah. And the reason I would add the gravy packet, like a dry gravy packet, to the mix, but I would still put the gravy on top, like a gravy on top. And the reason is because of how thick it just was not getting that gravy flavor that you get when you have Salisbury steak. So that's what I would do differently. Okay, so moving on to the very last meatloaf is the fajita meatloaf. So first we're going to, of course, add our meat to the bowl. But then I decided I probably should finish prepping everything else. So I went ahead and put the pork rinds in the food processor. I wish I would have done a whole bag or possibly 2 bags of pork rinds, because I have a feeling when I cook that meatloaf, which we have not had the fajita meatloaf yet, so I can't tell if it's good or not, but I have a feeling when I cook it, it's going to be just like the Salisbury one and kind of fall apart. So if if you are going to try this, definitely double up on your breading. All right, so then after I got that processed, I went ahead and got the peppers cut up and added to the bowl. Okay, so it seems like I lost the last clip of the fajita meatloaf. So after you add the peppers to the bowl, you're going to go ahead and add in your fajita seasoning. I also ended up adding cheese to mine, and what else? Onions, onion powder, garlic powder, salt and pepper. I think that was it. I wish I had the clip. So let me think back on it. I had the fajita seasoning. I probably added a quarter of a cup, probably a third, actually probably closer to a third of a cup of fajita seasoning. A little bit of salt because there's salt in the fajita seasoning, pepper. Then I added the chopped peppers, the onion, of course the meat. I ended up adding cheese, the pork rinds, and 3 eggs. And then I just combined that, put it in the loaf pan. Now for all of these meatloafs, I would suggest cooking them at 400 to 425 from anywhere to 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how thick of a loaf you're making. You do want to check it at about 45 minutes with a temperature gauge. You want your meat to be around 165 internal temperature before you eat it. Yeah, and like I said, so far all we've had is the Salisbury one, and it turned out decent. I mean, I would definitely change things about it, but it wasn't gross. So classic is not hard to make. And then of course I'll let you know how the fajita one turns out once we do have it. So it might just be in a future video where I mention, hey, we had the fajita meatloaf and it was good. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I do have more recipes coming along with some decorating videos. So stay tuned. Make sure you like and subscribe, comment below, and I will see you guys next time.